Hello and welcome to ATG 4950. In this session we are going to address survey design and analysis. Since we are moving now with the production or to the production phase, we need to make sure that we are capturing all the specifications for the product that you are developing. And you can do that by asking the population on what kind of specifications or functions they expect to have in the product. And that can be done through surveys. So we need to learn about how to design the survey and analyze the data that we get from these surveys. So what's a survey? A survey is a tool that can be used for assessing opinions and trends, and that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to capture the feedback or opinions or the trends from the population that we are dealing with. And then the data or the collected data can be analyzed to make sure that we have all specifications implemented in the product during product development. Now, sometimes I invest money in survey, lots of money in making a survey. But if it was not correct, I will lose all that money. So maybe investing will, if it was accurate, it will bring me lots of money. But at the same time, if it was not invested correctly, then I will lose lots of money. Someone might say, why do I need to collect the information since I have information through internet, newspaper, television, and other sources or channels of information. The problem that we don't know if the information is credible or it's accurate and what kind of population was surveyed. Is the population that we are interested in addressing or different population? That's why we need to make sure that we are actually collecting the proper information that we need through a well-designed survey. But no matter what you do, you cannot achieve a 100% accuracy in collecting the information. So why do we need a survey? It's important to have a certain goal or to know exactly why do I need a survey for. So it might be for study for the current situation, to identify what kind of problems do I have or what's the gap and how to close the gap and succeed in a certain area. Maybe to identify a need or a want, and that's what we have here. We have a product that might be a need for some certain people or some population or certain population, and we are trying to capture what they need or what they want in that product. And then we can use it to identify functions and features of that under development product. And we are when we say products, we are saying goods or services. If I am trying to create a new service to provide for the community, then I need to see what kind of features or what kind of requirements or what kind of needs do the population would like to see in this kind of service that I am providing. We can also improve existing products feature. We can identify problems, waste, error, mistakes, and correct them as a feedback coming from the population or from a sample of the population. To do a survey, we have different methods. The survey methods can be divided into two major areas, either questionnaires or interviews. For the questionnaires, it's a survey that can be completed by an entity through mail, email, website, or in writing by themselves. For interviews, it's a survey that has to be completed by interviewing the entity of interest face-to-face or through a phone call or through a video conferencing. In this case, an interviewer is required to complete this mission, but actually, recently, interviews can be done automatically using automated voice or automated system that can ask the question and you can reply on the phone and it will capture your feedback. Interviews are considered more personal and time-consuming. In addition, it needs intensive resources, whether we are doing it through a person or through an automated system. Both needs lots of resources and lots of, if we are dealing with human and the human will be doing the interviews, then they need lots of training before they are sent out to perform these interviews or conduct these interviews with the people. To select the proper method of survey, we have to consider the following criteria. First, we have to look at the population that we want to survey. We need to look at the available information and needed information. How much information do I have and how much information is missing or needed to complete my study or my survey. The types of questions, what type of questions do I need to ask, short, long, does it have fill in the space or just multiple choice, true, false, something like that. And then the population literacy and knowledge about the topic to be surveyed. I wouldn't ask people in the area about, maybe in Florida, asking them about snow and what was your experience in snow, unless they lived up north. But most of the time, or it's preferred to ask a population that know or has the knowledge in the area that I would like to ask them to do or to survey. In addition, we need to look at the bias issues and administrative issues. And I will go over each one of these criteria separately. So for the population to be surveyed, we can identify the targeted population and know exactly what kind or who are the people that we will be surveying, whether age, gender, or ethnicity, or whatever the target is. We can take a sample of each. We can see if it's for survey for teenagers because I'm targeting an application for teenagers or a software or something for teenagers, or maybe for elderly people because I'm asking them about retirement and the issues of retirement. Also, again, is the population literate and has the knowledge in the area or in the topic that's in place of surveying? And do the target population speak different language? If they speak different language, then we need to provide samples of the survey from the different language. We need to have people that can understand the different language and collect the proper information. Will the population cooperate? If they are not going to cooperate, what should I do? What's my plan to collect the information needed? And are there any geographical or cultural restrictions? Geographical, they are so far, the population per square feet is very low, so I need to travel distances just to collect the information. Or we have cultural issues or cultural problems that will make the uh, survey or the people place of survey not answer my questions. What do I need to do at that point, and how can I handle the survey? That's why when I design that survey, I need to understand the population that I'm addressing, their culture, the geographical information about the area, and all the information needed to design the proper survey. In the sampling, we start looking at the proper population. So sampling actually is a process of selecting entities from the population that should assist in inferring a generalized characteristic. The sample should be random. I should not target certain people or certain area and infer my results based on the large area based on this small area. So I have to select random areas, random people, and try to generalize as much as possible to get that uh, generalized characteristic. It's very hard to sample every member of the population. Uh, Also, we need to see what would the response rate of the sample or the sample size be in the area. If the sample size is a problem and does not infer about the population, then we need to know how to deal with that and collect the proper information. Uh, some statistics can be calculated from the collected sample, such as average, variance, standard deviation, and that's the purpose of collecting that sample. And also, sampling error can provide an idea of the precision of our statistical estimate. For the survey questions, uh, are the questions open or closed-ended? We need to understand what kind of questions should I ask or would be in the survey when designing the survey. Would some questions be complex? If they are complex, do I need to add some kind of explanation or some kind of a way to make the data collection easier or more efficient? Will additional screening questions be needed? Do questions need to be in a sequence? And do some questions have to be lengthy? For the population literacy and knowledge, do we expect the population to know about the topic to be surveyed? If not, what should I do? Do I need to target another population, or do I need to maybe provide a brochure that will give them literacy in that area, or videotape that will provide the literacy, and then ask them the question? Do they need to review some records or historical data to do that? Maybe we will ask them about something that they forgot, so they need to go back to their records, their historical data or charts to be able to answer my question. For the bias issues, the question here is, can we avoid false or biased responses? Is it possible? Especially if we are taking random sample and we are asking people, so we don't know exactly if they are biased towards a certain opinion or a certain issue. Can we avoid entities that like to look good? For example, if we are surveying organizations and one of the organization is falsing the results or the responses just to show themselves that they are good, um, and they look good as a company or organization. Some entities has strong opinions about some issues. How could that be avoided? most of the time we need to ask certain population that are not restricted or has strong opinion in a certain area or certain issue. For administrative issues, of course, the administrative will be concerned first about the cost. How much would the survey will cost? How long would it take? Are you taking time from my employees? Um, I don't want to spend time or let my employees spend time on taking the survey if that will affect the work or the job. Do I need a facility to conduct and analyze the survey? Do we need trained people with special skills to conduct and analyze the survey? Constructing a survey. Since now we know that we need to look at the type, we need to look at the population, we need to look at the questions and the area that I am surveying, then now I can start the construction of the survey. Looking at those criteria, I will determine the survey type. I will identify survey main goal and or purpose. Then I will determine the questions type. Is it structured or unstructured? Structured mean just fill in the blank or true false, check from the list, circle the proper answer, rank, etc. Or unstructured, what do you think? Do you have additional comments? Do you have suggestions? Do you have feedback? And those are unstructured and open-ended questions. We can construct a survey in a way that it's easy to choose a response. The more difficult it is, the more difficult to collect information. It's better to have it easy in an easy format that will be easy to select the proper answer. Also, word question properly to get the proper response. Be straight to the point and word it properly. For when we say word it properly, that means read the question twice to make sure that it will not be misunderstood. What kind of assumption do you have in mind when you made that question? What kind of assumption does the question make about the population? Are we assuming that they are literate in this area or not? Are we assuming that they know about the topic, or do we have other assumptions? Is the time frame specified for answering that question or for the answer of the question? So am I asking to give me your opinion about sales of cars? Do I have it in 2010, 2011, 10 years ago, in the 1970s? Did I specify a time frame for my question or not? How personal is the wording? The more personal, the more careful we need to be. Some people don't like it to be personal to them, so you have to be careful when wording that. Is the wording too direct to the person? Does the question include any or new terminologies? If it does, do I need to explain it? Do I need to state what kind of terminology or what's the meaning of that terminology? And is the wording explicit? And lots of surveys are so explicit that there is a need to add a disclaimer to make sure that legally or the survey is legit when using it with a certain population. Question placement. Some issues to consider when placing questions. Usually we start with easy questions and then we put the more difficult questions near the end. We never start a mail survey with an open-ended question. And for the historical demographics, follow chronological order. And then we ask about one topic at a time. If you have more than one topic, then you have to use a transition between the two topics, or when you switch, you need to switch with a transition. And then reduced response set the tendency of respondent to just keep checking the same response. And make sure that for a filter or contingency question, you make a flow chart to explain how or what do you mean by that. That's for the questionnaires. Now for interviews. Interviews are very challenging form of measurement, and the interviewer has to stay within certain boundaries and under certain protocols. The most common types of interviews is face-to-face and phone interviews. If we are dealing with a person as an interviewer and not automated system, then we have to have certain skills. This interviewer has to have the ability to motivate the interviewee to answer the question properly. And they should be able to clarify any confusion or concern by the interviewee. They should be able to control personal opinions or beliefs during the interview, even if it might hurt them or might affect them, but that's a matter of one opinion. So they should not use or have their personal opinions affect their interview. When you are interviewing people, try not to finish sentences. Actually, do not finish people's sentences, and ask every question in the interview and in the same sequence. If you have 15 questions for the interview, ask all 15. Don't say that it's enough to ask for 13 or 10 unless being told by other people or by the organization collecting the information. And if it has certain sequence, you will need to jump or skip questions. Go with the same sequence that the organization or the entity asks you to do so. The interviewer should have or has enough knowledge about the topic to be surveyed, and they should understand the goal of the survey and know who's the sponsor for that survey and what's their objective of that. The collected information can be either quantitative or qualitative. When we say quantitative, means coming from the word quantity, that means it's numerical data that can be collected via structured tools such as questionnaires. For the qualitative, it's descriptive data that can be collected via unstructured tools such as interviews or discussions or other channels. And this is comparison between the quantitative and qualitative. As we said quantitative is numerical while qualitative is descriptive. Quantitative data can be measured such as length, height, area, volume, so on, while the qualitative data can be observed such as taste, smell, color, texture, so on. And this is a small example that will give you an idea of what we mean by quantitative and qualitative, which can be gathered for the same item or the same product. So if we took coffee as an example, and we would like to collect quantitative information or data, then we are looking at something to be measured, such as the size of it, which is 8 ounces, the temperature, which is 150 degrees Fahrenheit, and the price is $1.98. While if we are looking at a descriptive or qualitative data, then we can describe the strong smell, the bitter taste, and the black color. Survey analysis. Once we get all this data collected and we have it saved somewhere, we need to start working on the data. And to start working on the data or analyzing the data or understanding the data, we need to go through major steps. First, we need to clean and organize the data. Then we need to describe the data and then test the hypotheses and models coming out from the data or as a result of analyzing the data. So those are the major steps for analyzing the data. When we say cleaning and organizing data, means the process of preparing data for analysis, which includes data entry if I need to enter the data somewhere on a computer or in a spreadsheet, checking the data for accuracy, transforming data, and developing a data structure. For example, if I have data point that will say that human temperature is 150 degrees, then we say that this is for sure being collected wrong. Maybe it's 100 or 100.5. So we need to make sure that it's accurate, and that will be called cleaning. In addition, if we have missing data points, we need to look at the missing data points, how we can deal with it. Are we going to replace it with zeros or replace it with the average? And that's a decision that will be done after collecting the data and while analyzing the data. Then in the describing process, it's the process of providing descriptive statistics to describe the basic features of the data in a study. When we say descriptive statistics, we mean average, variance, and other entities, such as the correlation between the different variables. Maybe we can see if there are other values that I need to collect for the data. And then we start testing the hypothesis models. And in this process, we investigate and test the suggested assumptions to infer from the sample the population feedback. And testing a hypothesis, we will actually hypothesize that maybe the population would like this kind of coffee more than other kind, and we'll see if that stands right or correct by analyzing the data. So that's as an example, small example of hypothesis that can be actually stated, and then from analyzing the data, it can be either rejected or accepted. Either we reject that this coffee is not good or it's not popular between this kind of population, or we reject and we say that yeah, it's good coffee and so on. So that's for the analysis. Now, to analyze more, we need to look at those steps thoroughly. So in part 2, we are going to address the preparation, describing, and the testing of the data. That will be all for the session. If you have any questions, you can email it to me. Thank you and have a great day.